Hey, what's up, guys? Like and subscribe to the video. And here's the new fan fiction. If you want to look at the original story, it's down in the description. So check it out. But now to the video.
I admit, this wasn't exactly how I expected to go out. Now I won't say I am particularly angry or sad at the way I went out. Sure, I wouldn't exactly rank it in the 10 ways I wanted to go out, and it was really painful, but it was kinda humorous in a way. Or that might be my way of coping with things, who knows. Of course, I am pissed off at the fact that I did die. Who wouldn't be? I wanted to stay alive like any other bastard out there. I wanted to scream, break down a wall with my bare hands and cry out at the injustice. Well, that was 10 hours ago. I have been stuck in this kaleidoscopic purgatory for 10 hours now, give or take. It is, exceptionally, boring, and it hurts my eyes. But being stuck in the middle of a kaleidoscope with the only noise you hear being the occasional dragon roar for reasons my fragile human mind will not even begin to try and comprehend to preserve my sanity has allowed me to reflect on my life. One might ask, you handsome bastard, how did you end up here? Well, luckily for you, I already have an explanation. I was delivered to God's doorstep, express shipping via Pipabim. That's right, I had no glorious death, nothing like heroically wresting a gun from a robber to save people before getting shot and succumbing to your wounds. I didn't push a child out of a speeding truck's way. I didn't go out in a blaze of glory while taking out my enemies, not even getting slammed by an 18-wheeler isoke style. Nope, some particularly vengeful bastard left a Pipabim at my doorstep. A particularly sad and pathetic death, fitting I guess. At least it feels gratifying knowing that I managed to piss someone off so much to the point they resorted to mailing me to the afterlife with a Pipabim of all things. I mean, come on, I at least deserved dynamite or grenade. Well, regardless of the method of delivery, it didn't change that I was in this hell. Or whatever this place was. Maybe I could be in a hospital room bleeding out, who knows? I could be so pumped up with drugs that I am freaking out right now. No, that doesn't seem likely. You don't survive a pipe bomb at that range and expect to make it to the hospital. I had enough holes in me after that to make a bee's nest jealous. So this must be the afterlife. Honestly, I expected something more. Was I someone deserving of the pearly gates treatment? That's up for debate. Sure, I wasn't really someone evil, but at the same time, I was never someone particularly morally sound. While I didn't expect to be thrown into the boiler room with the key kicked away, I didn't have the keys to the pearly gates on me either. But I have never heard of a hell like this in any of the religions. Well, nothing I can do about it for now. I guess I will just keep floating until something happens. Or at least until I can do something about it. Then, suddenly something changed. I felt an immense force tugging on my body, soul. It felt like I was being dragged through space and time at speeds beyond my comprehension as the world around me distorted. My view shifted from this kaleidoscopic hell to space, to a rapidly approaching blue dot. Before I could let out a string of curses that would make even Gordon proud, my body approached the blue dot even closer, and I realized that somehow, that wasn't a blue dot, that was Earth. And before I could think about what the actual fuck was happening, my body reached the earth and I felt like I had run headfirst into concrete, knocking me out. In a house in Kua, a young man was peacefully sleeping in his bed when suddenly he jolted awake and shot up with a horrified expression as he clutched his and started desperately gasping for air. Huff huff. After spending a good few minutes getting my bearings, I finally managed to regain a semblance of rationality, and finally, I was at least calm enough to ask the million-dollar question. What in the actual fuck just happened? That had to have been a trip, right? A friend decided to pull a prank on me and slip 500 milliliters of Mindbreaker or whatever into my water cup. Must be back in my house right now, right? That must have been a dream. But I looked around the room and, yep. This isn't even my apartment. Where the fuck even am I? I slapped my cheeks to offset the panic at the fact that I was probably in some stranger's bed right now. So just to get the facts straight, I got Pipabombed, then I started floating in a kaleidoscopic void, and now I woke up inside a room I don't recognize. Great, just great. And I felt something off about my body. Fearing the worst, I ran my fingers over my waist. Feeling no scars or stitches, I sighed in relief before I froze. Those aren't my fingers. My fingers don't look like that, nor does my waist feel like that. Mild panic settled in as I jumped out of the bed and walked out of the room. Seeing the stairs leading down at the end of the hallway, I realized that this place was a house, not an apartment. Continuing in my quest to find the bathroom, I found 2 more rooms that only had the bare minimums inside them. Strange. After a while of searching, I found the upstairs bathroom and looked at my body in the mirror. My body. Reflected in the mirror was a young man around 17 years old with messy dark brown hair reaching past his neck. He also had greyish metal blue eyes along with a better than average but not enough to stand out face. Thunk. Haha. My forehead rested against the cool ceramic. I had somehow transmigrated into another body. I don't know how, I don't know why. But I do know despairing won't help. I lifted my head off the ceramic and took a better look at my new body. The first thing I noticed was that I was now younger, about high school age, with messy brown hair that reached about shoulder height, along with grey-blue eyes. Overall it was slightly above average in terms of looks, not enough to stand out but enough to say nice on a closer inspection. Next, I removed my shirt and took a look at myself in the mirror, and I was pretty disappointed. I was pretty scrawny. I had the build of a teenager who never exercised regularly, not very tall either, 174 centimeters-ish, 5 feet 8 inches in what the fuck is a kilometer. I got fully naked and looked all over myself. And well, I know where the extra inches I had went at least. I was never lacking in the downstairs department before and I wasn't now either, and for that, I was immensely grateful. At least God was merciful enough to not take away precious inches of my manhood. Anyway, after I was done looking, I put my clothes back on and returned to the room I woke up in to search for some much-needed answers. I am pretty sure I saw a laptop in the room. Since I still did not know where I was, I opened the computer that was in the room I woke up in. I just decided to claim it as my room for now, as I haven't seen anybody else in this house and this body gave a sense of deja vu wherever I went. Anyway, after the computer booted up, with no password mind you, I noticed something weird. The system language was set to Japanese. I can't read Japanese. Or well, I shouldn't be able to read Japanese. But for some reason, the letters just made sense to me, as if reading Japanese was just second nature to me. Well, considering what had already happened, this wasn't in the top 5 of the weirdest things in the hour. Setting that can of worms aside to be opened later, I opened the browser and typed in, "What's my location?" Although I could guess where this place was from the computer's default language, I wanted confirmation, so I pressed enter. Kuo Town, Japan. Kuo? I don't think I've ever heard of a town like that in Japan. I mean, to be fair, I'm not the most knowledgeable person about Japan, so I could totally be wrong about it. But something about that name feels oddly familiar, but I can't put my finger on it. Wait just a fucking second. I could feel the neurons in my brain firing up. The connections were suddenly lining up now. Died, not in hell, familiar kaleidoscopic void place. Woke up in Japan in an unfamiliar town called Kuo. That shouldn't be. But then again, nothing that has happened to me now has made sense either. Maybe I was grasping at straws here, creating connections where there weren't any. But there was a way to potentially prove this conjecture, and it wouldn't hurt to try. After a bit of taking deep breaths, I typed Kuo Academy into the search bar and hit enter. Now there were 2 ways this could go down. 1, I would just get a wiki article about the fictional school DxD, and if that happened I would probably drop dead a second time from sheer embarrassment at my stupidity. 2, I would get something like an official school site, which would prove my outlandish theory right. Steeling myself, I pressed enter. So fucking ridiculous. It's so ridiculous that it's almost believable. Does this mean that I have somehow been transmigrated into Highschool DxD? I grasped my hair with my fingers while trying to regain a semblance of calm. This amount of outlandish, absurd and downright world-shattering news at once. I was freaking out. As would anyone in my situation. In fact, I would like to think I am handling this fairly well, considering I am not screaming. Doesn't mean I don't want to. Finally, feeling fed with this, I laid on my bed to properly process the sheer amount bullshit that happened to me in what felt like 10 minutes. And suffered from a mind-shattering headache, and only managed to let out a 30-word string of curses before I passed out. So after that I learned some things. Well, it was more like an infodump straight into the cranium. At least it let me calm down and helped me actually make sense of the situation. And there was no denying it. I was in high school DxD. Devils, angels, fallen angels, yucca, satans, strays, gods, dragons, vampires, werewolves, reapers, and everything in between. Hell, even outer robot gods or whatever from what I heard. Well, at least I could take solace in the fact that at least I wasn't sent to somewhere like Dark Souls or Fate. But the question still stands. What the hell do I do now? And so it begins. What did you guys think of this start? Did you like it? What did you think about our new MC? I would love to hear your thoughts about it and